countdown to launch continues. Workers are now inspecting over 24,000 tiles that will protect Space Shuttle Atlantis from the tremendous heat of friction when she re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. Every shuttle mission is risky, but this one comes with the added pressure of being the final one. The tiles have caused trouble since the very beginning, when pilot Bob Crippen flew the first space shuttle mission in 1981.
We knew there was risk, but we thought we were prepared to be able to handle it.
Sounds good to get kind of low.
When you get inside of 6 seconds prior to liftoff, that's when the main engines are lit off. So the engines are up and running. I'm checking all my instruments, so that part's good. We do that 6 seconds to make sure that the engines are up and running properly, and the vehicle does swing because of the thrust from the engines, and when it comes back vertical is when it's time to ignite the solids. And bang, you get this big kick in the pants. When I got the doors open, I looked back at the rear end of the vehicle, and there was obviously some tiles missing. There weren't that many, I don't know, maybe a couple dozen. I think the ground was pretty concerned at that particular point, so we'd lost some tiles off the base of the vehicle, but there's no way of towing that. There isn't anything you can do about it, so don't worry about it.
When traveling at 5 miles per second during re-entry, the exposed surfaces of a shuttle can reach temperatures hot enough to melt steel.
Hello, Columbia, Houston's here. How do you read? And we couldn't agree more, Tom. Your sync vector's good?
There's relief all around when the first shuttle lands safely. But 134 missions later, the danger posed by loose or faulty insulation still haunts the program. Every inch of Atlantis' heat shield is checked and checked again before her final launch. One chink in the armor can mean disaster.
The whole external part of the shuttle is covered with some type of thermal protection. During re-entry, we're seeing temperatures of 2,600 degrees. Here's our RCC nose cone, one of the hotter spots on the orbiter. This is the fib blanket material. It's a quartz material. This is the leading edge, the wing. Mike, if you could pull off number 6, that's a reinforced carbon-carbon. Very expensive, high temperatures, very, very durable. All of our systems, hydraulics, fuels, computers, we all have backup systems. With the thermal protections, it's one time. If we lost one, we have a burn through, it could be a very bad day.
With launch day now just 3 months away, they are ready to assemble Atlantis' solid rocket boosters. Like giant fireworks, these rockets are packed with an explosive propellant that ignites at launch to thrust the shuttle off the pad. The rockets are built in Utah and transported in sections to Kennedy's Vehicle Assembly Building, known by insiders as the VAB.
All right, we got a group crane crew. That's what we call them. They actually are the muscle of the VAB. They lift the big boosters into this high thing.
Rodney Wilson has been a solid rocket booster technician for 23 years. He knows each section must be handled with extreme caution.
The inside of this case, you have solid propellant. You gotta be careful. Once you light the igniters, they send a big spark through the center of the hole, and once you light, there's no way of turning it off. It's on. And right here is where you see our hold down post. This is one of the corners where it actually sit and rests. That's what holds this whole entire stack up all the way up. The weight of the external tank, the shuttle, and this booster itself. It's a strong boat. During the launch time, countdown, they actually send a signal and it explodes the boat and split it in half. And they all go out same time.
The solid rocket boosters help lift the 4.5 million pound shuttle off the pad. 2 minutes later, the rockets are jettisoned.
If it's a clear day, you'll see the orbiter and the external tank continue, and then you'll see both SRBs separate, tumble, and then fall right into the ocean.
During each launch, Joe Chappett's team waits 140 miles offshore to retrieve the boosters for reuse.
The biggest reason for us there at that point is to make sure that there are no vessels in the immediate area of the splashdown point. But when you explain to any passing vessel that there's an 80-ton rocket with explosives coming down in their immediate vicinity, generally they get their attention and they'll change course and be very amiable about it. And as both SRBs re-enter, there's a double sonic boom. The first time you hear it, it's pretty impressive. You're not going to sleep through it.
When the rockets land, they're vertical. And they trap air. It's similar if you take in your bathtub, you take a glass jug that's empty and you turn it upside down and put it in the water, you trap air. That's how the boosters float. You can't tow them vertically. We tried that once and we realized that was impossible to do that. We have to get the rockets into horizontal.
Okay, BJ, we're on course for the SRB.
And my job is to direct that whole thing. And I kind of have a bird's eye view of the bridge level down.
We have to deploy divers, and then we pump air in, and the water comes out, and it actually brings it up to the surface, and then we connect a tow and bring it home.
One day in 1986, the boosters take off, but do not come back.
It seemed like after it occurred, it just lingered in the sky forever.
I've been on the ocean since I was 5 or 6 years old, and I've been through some bad weather. You know, the cold front that preceded the Challenger launch, we had winds of 65 knots for 2 days out there. It got so bad that we couldn't even turn the ships. We had to just stick bound to the waves. So the 28th of January, I think, in the morning, they launched.
Although it was a terribly cold day, I don't particularly remember that. I was standing outside with a bunch of coworkers and watched the countdown and the engine start, lift off.
Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Go for throttle up. And boom.
15 seconds, velocity 2,900 feet per second.
I saw what happened, and I thought, oh, well, the orbital will just pull out of that and fly back on a return to launch site in the morning. And that's not what happened.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. We have no downlink.
You could see the pieces
fall down, through the atmosphere, and watch the pieces hit the ocean surface from the long-range cameras here on site.
Scientists investigating the Challenger disaster analyze every available scrap of evidence, including film from nearly 200 cameras.
We had this beautiful machine that would work so well. What the heck went wrong?
The cause of the accident is traced to a joint failure in the right rocket booster, a design flaw resulting in 7 deaths.
It's like losing some of your family. I think everybody out here would tell you that. And that's why every launch now is precious. Every launch is double finger cross, double prayers, double whatever you need to do. Get that bird up in the air and keep it safe,
It's easy to appreciate why the shuttle workforce takes their jobs so seriously. The astronauts' lives are in their hands.
The environment you're going into is so hostile that if the vehicle isn't perfect, you're not going to come home.
The charts, checklists, and spreadsheets are as vital as the bolts and insulation.
Once the stack of work paper gets to orbital altitude, your vehicle's ready to fly.
There's now just 11 weeks before Atlantis lifts off. Before the orbiter is ready for rollout, engineers must close the spacecraft's cargo bay doors. They are extremely fragile. If they twist or jam, the astronauts may not be able to open the doors in space, putting the entire mission in jeopardy.
The doors are real light. The doors weren't designed to be opened in our regular gravity. You can't take the doors and open them up with a crank. They're just too thin. The doors are very thin. So the way we actually open the doors, they use counterweights and a system of pulleys and blocks that allows us to float the doors closed. Very gentle, very smooth.
Atlantis' cargo bay is the size of a bus. It will soon be packed full.
Well, since we're the last shuttle, we're going to be the heaviest cargo module we've ever flown because they're going to cram everything they can. This is your last chance to get all the heavy stuff up there.
This will be the shuttle's last delivery to the space station. On board will be 25,000 pounds of food, water, and spare parts.
That's how it's going to go in.
It will be years before anything big or heavy can be carried there again. It was the shuttle that carried most of the International Space Station's 14 modules into orbit. This is the largest man-made object in the sky. It's permanently manned by crews drawn from all over the world. For launch director Mike Lineback, this is the shuttle's greatest achievement.
Space station it's the max. I mean, it's terrific. I mean, I remember when it was first proposed, the volume of the thing and the weight. A lot of people doubted we could pull it off, and to see it work on orbit it's almost surreal. The thing that comes to mind always is Star Trek to me. You look at the crews and languages and their cultures and the food that they eat. And it is truly an international space station. It's wonderful to see.
Now the French are flying to the station with their vehicle. The Japanese are flying to the station with their vehicle. Of course, the Russians are flying to the station with their vehicle. And we're going to do it one more time.
Atlantis is now ready to be attached to her boosters and fuel tank so she can begin her final journey to the launch pad.
More about that in a few minutes.